Hey, hey, everyone. It's me, Jennifer Schurter, your hostess with the mostest, back again here on Thursday, March 7th. Can you believe it's March already? But here we are. It's a beautiful day here in Oregon, and I'm excited to bring you today's episode of Real Estate Recess. Have some really exciting topics to talk to you about today. But first, I want to be sure to introduce somebody who is joining me today all the way from Dallas, Texas. Thank goodness for technology. Let me introduce you to Sally Mireles, my friend and fellow real estate agent down in the Dallas, Texas area. Hello, dear. How are you today?
Good. How are you?
It's a good day. We have some sun here in Oregon. We take what we get up here, you know?
Well, we have rain, so we take what we get. We
Oh,
need the rain.
we traded. We traded places today.
Right. Hence the hair. It was kind of fixed, and then it just did its own
Yeah.
thing. I'm like, all right,
Oh,
whatever.
you look great. You look
Thank
just great, my dear. So,
you. Thank you.
yeah, so Sally, why don't you take a minute and tell us a little bit about yourself and yeah, tell the people what your business is like down in Dallas and why you got into real estate.
All right. Well, I am Sally Mireles. Hablo español. We have a blended family with 6 kids and 4 dogs, and never a dull moment for sure. There's been all kinds of stories. If you follow me on Instagram, I mean, story after story. We recently, a couple of days ago, just had to throw our couch away because our older dog got explosive diarrhea and
Oh
ruined.
no.
There was no saving the couch. My husband's like, "We can just wash it." I'm like, "No, throw that thing away."
Oh
So,
my God. Yeah, there's a point of just no return. You're just like
right, it's
it's not even worth it. Just get a new one.
right.
Right.
So, yeah, we stay super busy. I have a team. I have 3 licensed agents. My director of operations, which is Katie, who is my right hand. I am like, it's not her telling me, what do you need? I'm like, what do you need? And I'm always
Mhm.
threatening her, like, you can never leave me. You know this, right? She's
Right.
that good. And then I have my daughter who recently joined. She's my assistant. So she's running around, doing all the extra things for me, taking things off my plate. But we met during Tom Ferry coaching, and I've
Yeah.
coached Tom Ferry since I started 7 years ago. On and off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I made some
That's
great
right.
friendships from a lot
Yeah.
of state agents.
And I think that's so important for folks out there who, when they're thinking about hiring a real estate agent, of all the many things that they should look at with who they hire, is how is their professional growth and development? Are they focused on that? Is that a priority to them beyond just the requirements to renew a license? Are they in contact and masterminding and in a community of other agents that are going to help advance them or grow their understanding of things? So
Absolutely.
yeah.
I bring that up with
Yeah.
my listing appointments, as far as, hey, and I know you're interviewing other agents. These are the questions to ask. Ask them, how
Right.
many transactions did they have last year? I don't know about in Oregon, but here in Texas, the average agent, well, I wouldn't say average, 49.5% of agents wrote 0 to 1 transaction last year.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I think that
49.
statistic's similar here too.
Yeah.
Um, I want to say, I mean, the statistics I looked at recently. So again, these are estimations, if I recall. It's in Oregon, there's in the Portland Metro, there are 8,000 real estate agents. And on there was a total of something like 21,000 transactions last year in the Portland metro area. So
Mhm.
that's just over 2 transactions per agent average. And there's agents out here who've done 20 or more or who have done 30 or more themselves. And that means there's a lot of agents who've done 0 deals in the past
Exactly.
year. So
Exactly.
it's an important question to ask.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it just
Yeah.
goes to show, on their education, on are they pouring into themselves so that then we can pour into our clients?
Uh-huh.
Because what I try to tell my buyers and sellers is, look, I just want to keep you out of real estate jail. That is
You're
my
right.
number one goal. I
Yes.
want to find you a
Yes.
house and keep you out of real estate jail, ultimately,
Yes.
because
Exactly.
yeah, that's no fun. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, we are a bilingual group. We do a lot of workshops. We recently just did one at Chick-fil-A. They're closed on Sundays.
Right.
They open their doors for us and
Wow.
let us have our workshop there with first-time home buyers. So we're going to do that once a quarter. We have a lot of different, we call them workshops because nobody wants to go to a seminar. So they're very interactive, and we get our lender out there, our insurance agent, which we'll talk later about insurance here in Texas. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's been really, really great. Just watching your growth from when we first met years ago and everything we've learned, with our coaching to where we are now. And just, I would say even just how confident you are behind the camera. I mean, that's huge because
Well, thank you. Thank you
yes,
for that. It's
sure.
funny because, real estate's a lonely business. You work by yourself and you wonder sometimes if, you do this, hello, is this thing on? Is anybody listening? And so thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's wonderful feedback. So, well, what do you think? Shall we talk about some news topics now that everybody has a little introduction into who you are?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so Sally, you're going to give your Texas take on some of these things. Some of these stories will be more specific to Oregon, but this first one we're going to talk about is this generational tug of war. So this isn't specific to Oregon, this is a national thing, but there's things happening in the real estate market right now, as you might already know and be aware of, that are hindering buyers' options. We've got people who own homes with a low interest rate that it's cost prohibitive for them to sell, even if they need to sell. We have a lot of inventory locked up in the boomer generation because they've owned these houses since the 80s and they're sitting on a lot of equity. The home may not suit their needs. However, where are they going to go? Because we have an inventory shortage. And amongst other things. So, Sally, in Texas, what are you seeing with some of these things? Are you seeing challenges for first-time buyers? Is there a lack of options for folks out there? So, yeah, give us your take on this generational tug of war that they're saying is out there right now.
Yeah, so I think that, we work a lot with our senior citizens here, my team specifically, and a lot of our senior citizens just don't know who to trust. They're not educated. They don't know what to do. They're being charged these astronomical prices on their estate sales. So they're scared to make a move because they don't want to be taken advantage of. I've done estate sales to where I have to go to the nursing home and have them sign paperwork there because they don't have family here.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of it is just educating our elderly and helping them walk through every step. The majority of them just want to be closer to their grandkids. That is the number one reason for a move when it comes to our elderly generation. Our millennials in Texas are so educated. I think in the US, period, right? They're so educated. Like they
Yes.
come to me and say, hey, this is the builder that I'm looking at. I did the stats. I ran the numbers, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, so we just need to sign then, right? But it is educating them on every aspect of it. Hey, let's be real. Let me look at the builder's history. Let me see if they filed for bankruptcy and then just came up under another name. That's my job on construction.
Right.
Have you considered all of the other things that come with a move? Like movers, like if the HVAC fails in the first 2 years, are you going to be able to replace that? So our millennials are educated on so much. The first thing that they look for is not even the price. It's more of, hey, I want the location. I want the office feel. If I'm going to work from home, I want it remodeled. And it's hard to change that mentality for them on, hey, your first home is not your forever home. To educate them on, hey, this is an investment property for you. We got to see it as that. You a couple of roommates and, make it an investment because the majority of them want a move-in ready opportunity, but they can't afford that move-in ready home.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's kind of the difference between those
Yeah.
two. But yeah,
Well,
there's a shortage in inventory. And, like we were talking earlier, 70% of properties here in Texas sold off market.
wow.
Almost, no, actually over 70% sold off market. 30% of that is new construction.
Wow.
And maybe another 10%, let's say, are estate sales, going to the grandkids, things like that. But other than that, you have families that are like, hey, I've got 4 kids. I work from home. We have so many off-market properties a year that if you look at my numbers between the new construction that I do and the off-market, it just shows that I've only done, half of what I really do because of these numbers,
Mhm.
which is fine.
Sure.
But these families, some of them are estate sales that they're like, hey, we don't want people in and out. We have valuables. And that's where the real estate professional comes in so that we can find
Totally.
these properties. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. And I think if you to go back to your point about millennials, if you look at the National Association of Realtors data that they release every year, that's the profile of home buyers and home sellers. They talked about, I want to say the most recent one said that the median age of a first-time home buyer was 36 years old. The most recent data that's out there, I think, is 36 years old.
Yeah.
So, and that's not the oldest or the youngest or the average, it's the middle. But gosh, you figure the millennials who are, let's say that that's an elder millennial, which I fall into that category, is if you're buying your house for the first time at 36 or older, your needs are so much different than somebody who's potentially coming in their mid to late 20s buying a home for the first time, where maybe that millennial that's older, the elder millennials, they've
I
got
like
to,
less
like you said,
experience.
yeah, yeah.
Experienced millennials.
It's like when I was pregnant at 35 and they're like geriatric pregnancy. I'm like, what do you mean? Um, but yeah, it's not a flattering term, is it, to be like elder millennial?
Yeah.
But it's the more wizened side of the millennial
Yeah.
generation. How about that? We have more wisdom and experience. We'll just say that. But it's like they've got different needs because at this point they've been renting, they've got kids, they've got a career, and now they've finally got the opportunity to move into a house that's their very own. They might just be willing to leapfrog that starter house that's, the 2-bedroom 1,000 square foot house, and they're at that age range going to maybe be looking for something that they would have just moved up into from the starter house. So
Yeah.
interesting dynamics. And that's a different price point too than that smaller starter house. So it's interesting dynamics.
Yes.
Very much so.
And I think also millennials don't, well, even the population in general, don't understand how seller concessions work. And
Mhm.
we have a lot of activity still happening where our sellers are giving seller concessions because they
Mhm.
gotta sell. I mean, unless the home is spectacular move-in ready, right? Texas, we call them broke and bougie. They're broke, but they're bougie. They want what they want. And I'm like, do you understand what your budget
It's
is?
what is that? The champagne budget or the
Yes.
champagne taste and beer budget, right?
Yeah. Champagne taste.
Right.
Yes. And so we have to educate them. And, a lot of my millennials have been like, wait, I can get money back? I'm like, yes, we can ask a seller for seller concessions to help you with closing
Totally.
costs. And luckily I work with lenders that I have a handful of lenders. One is specifically new construction. One is specifically Spanish, I-10 and DACA.
Oh,
One is for
totally.
investors. And then we have my veteran, because we do a lot of veteran transactions out here. My husband's a Marine, so they just it's just different. We have different. So anyway, and then my main lender, but we're all in very close communication to where we want you to keep as much money in your pocket as possible.
Totally.
And if I'm not telling you to get a second opinion, then I'm doing you a disservice, at this time in
Completely.
our economy. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, but we're still seeing a
absolutely.
lot of seller concessions, a lot of sellers still working with us. But as it's getting
Yes.
busier, I had a client send me a property on Friday and said, hey, let's go see this property. I was like, okay, brand new on the market, first day. He couldn't do it over the weekend. He said, we'll just go Monday. So Monday he called and said, hey, what time are we thinking? And I was like, hey, that property's pending. Not
Mhm.
even option.
Wow.
They skipped the option period. And this happened during COVID. So
Yeah.
2020, 2021,
Here we go.
there
Here
we
we
go.
go. I
Yeah.
know it. And up here in Oregon too, I think we're seeing the same thing. Sellers, again, going back to the points about what your agent is going to do for you as a listing agent, I'm going to be educating my sellers that because of the nature of the higher interest rates, while yes, they are not historically high, but considering it's been coupled with rapid growth in home prices, and then you have these higher interest rates, buyers are going to be coming and asking potentially for some of these concessions for help so that they can buy your house. So be prepared. They might ask for closing costs. They might ask for a rate buy down or costs to cover that. So, and for the most part, we've been successful in negotiating that for folks and keeping some cash in their pocket. A lot of, especially first time buyers, they're bringing everything they've got to the table pretty much. And so if we can help them preserve some cash so they're in a better situation moving into a house, then I think it's a win-win for everybody. And that's the point of a negotiation, is how do we get to a point where everybody feels like they got a win out of the deal. So awesome. Well, okay. Well, that's that. And let's move on to, we have another article here. So we went from something national. So this is more of a local to our area here in Oregon. And in a past episode of Real Estate Recess, I talked about the governor's initiative that she's working to get passed through the state government to help foster further development to create more affordable housing options. Affordable could be apartments to rent. It could be townhomes or attached wall type houses that would be good for rentals or even for first time buyers, but homes of all types to serve people's varying needs. So one, and it sounds like it so far has been successful. I still think it has some it still has some room to go before it actually passes, to the best of my knowledge at this time. But this article, when I saw it, it's an interesting point about the cost of things. Just this week, I went to the Canby Chamber of Commerce hosted their State of the City address, and the mayor talked about what's going on with the state of the city. And he mentioned that there's a lot of infrastructure projects that the city would like to do, but the cost of those projects, it's very expensive. And for instance, streets and roads, usually they would do updates every year and they'd spend $1 million or $2 million a year to update the streets and make improvements and repave. They've had to switch that to every other year and have a budget every other year of $700,000 to $900,000. So it's a big change just with the cost of things. So all that to say, infrastructure costs may derail Oregon home building goals because it's so dang expensive. So I don't know, Sally, a lot of people are moving to Texas, and I'm curious to what your take is on some of this, because infrastructure costs, everything's expensive everywhere. I don't think that's necessarily unique to Oregon. No. But if you're thinking about what all goes into new homes or new construction and the costs that are accrued even before you get to building a wall, before the lumber and everything is framed and there's walls for a property, there's a lot that goes into it. And so, yeah, I'm interested to hear your take on all this.
Yeah, I was sitting down with a client, I think a couple of weeks ago, and she almost bought a house 2019 prior to COVID. Actually, no, January 2020, she was supposed to close. And they ended up, the father-in-law was the co-signer. He backed out. Mm-hmm. The house back then was, I want to say around $290,000. And she comes back, she's like, hey, ended up getting divorced. It was a good thing I didn't get the house. I'm looking at buying one now. We looked in that same neighborhood, the same everything. I mean, it's grown, of course. Back then it was new, $290. Now you're looking at $540 is the starting price. And she's
Holy
like,
smokes.
Oh my God, I should have bought it. I shoulda, coulda. And I'm like, look, it is what it is. It was not meant to be. That's right. All we can say. It's not meant to be. We got to move forward now. But Texas is the number 1 relocation state as of 2023. And we were neck and neck with Florida. So some say it's Florida, some say it's Texas, depending on who you ask. But Texas felt that wave. And we've been feeling it. The inflation, it's ridiculous. Ever since COVID, because we had a lot of folks from California, New York that are still relocating that came in and were buying properties cash.
Oh my goodness. Well, I can tell you, I recently reviewed the US Census data because the US Census has this spreadsheet. I spent a ridiculous amount of time trying to make sense of this because I had an idea, trying to
Yeah.
figure out, figuring out migration patterns because I like numbers like that. Weirdo. But
Yeah. What is
anyway,
that?
so I was curious, well, who's actually moving to Oregon? Where are they coming from? But also, where are people from Oregon going? The number one state people are going to from Oregon is Washington. So according to the census, it was like we sent 36,000 people. There's a margin of error in there. But the number three state, so two is California, and number three is Texas
Oh,
from
nice.
Oregon. And I can tell you myself, I mean, anecdotal case here, I know several people who moved from my area, my local area,
Yeah.
people where I grew up. Um, I mean, my brother-in-law and his family being some, and folks I went to high school with, and several people have relocated to Texas. It's really interesting that I feel like Texas is the Florida for the West Coast, and Florida is like for the East Coast, like where people are flooding to, right?
Yeah.
Whatever's closer.
Yes,
So it's
exactly.
really interesting. Arizona and Texas is where I've seen a lot of people relocate. So Arizona
And
is number 4, by the way.
which one?
Arizona for
Arizona?
Oregon is number 4.
Love me some Arizona. Love, love. What do you
Yeah.
do? Girls trip out there. That would be fun.
Yeah. Hey, I'm here
Yes.
for it.
Love
We
it.
can plan that offline.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, so this construction, I feel like Texas is in its own bubble. Yes, we have our own issues with construction. There's a joke that 635 it's been under construction for, 50 years or whatnot.
Right.
But the population here is just growing at such a rapid state. So they banned Airbnbs from certain areas of Dallas.
Wow.
Because everyone was sweeping up these properties and doing Airbnbs. And then our Texans were like, hey, we can't afford a home. Not even afford a home. We can't find a home. So banned Airbnbs. And now they're making certain Airbnb owners sell them, or they're going to get penalties.
Yeah.
So that's in a lot of pockets of Texas. Now, one of the big cities, I guess, that's in the noise and whatnot is Frisco. They have 210,000 in population. I live in Saxe. We have 35,000, and that's as of 2021. That's before they announced that Disney Universal Resort is coming to Frisco.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So they've already started building there. As soon as that broke news, my phone starts ringing. Hey, I want to buy an investment property over there. I want to buy, and I'm like, good luck, because those start at 600,000.
Yeah.
So now, so there's Frisco, and then it's Prosper, a little bitty town, which is super expensive, and then it's Salina. Salina is up and coming. Salina is the new Frisco.
Okay.
Affordable right now. I have a lot of clients going that way.
I know some folks who live in Salina. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Somebody who relocated that I know moved to Salina. It's very interesting.
Yeah. And I just closed my property that I closed last Friday. They moved to Salina. So because you can't afford Frisco, but Salina's up and coming, and they're building everything there, and it's close to everything as well. So we have that. And then we have Rockwall. Excuse me. Rockwall has, it's like its own little resort out there. It's older, but yet there's land out there. It's beautiful. Yeah. The lake is out there. So that's one of the main lakes that people go to, one of the main attractions. A lot of relocation clients that I have that are like, hey, we're really relocating. We've never been there before. That's one of the first places I'll take them. And
cool.
A good chunk go to Rockwall.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah. So, but yeah, the construction, I mean, I was looking at Forbes top 5 things for buyers that buyers look at when they move here. And when I asked my team, I was like, hey, so in y'all's opinion, because I was reading your email, what do people need to look for when they move to Texas? And what do they need to know about Texas? And the first thing they said was the heat. They need to know that it's hot.
Yes. Yes, of course.
Oh yeah.
Perfect.
You have to know that. I don't know if you saw this video that I did where I went to supposedly realtors and listing presentations, and I was like dressed up, and then by 2 minutes later, the seller's
just
like
drenched.
Let's start
drenched
outside. Yeah,
in
I'm just drenched and I'm walking off like,
yes.
I got the listing.
I've had an idea to do a video similar for
Yeah.
Oregon that's like, if you tell me that rain is rain, I will prove you wrong all day. But it's a matter of catching the different types of rain that happen. Because here we have like the drizzly rain that's just kind of there. Then we have the torrents, and then we have it's just like the hail with the rain, and then you have the chunky rain, and it's just like there's all the different rain. It's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
Kind of
Well,
the
over
same thing.
here,
Yeah.
it's like heat is heat.
Yeah. Hot is
So,
hot.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yet Houston is a lot more humid than
Humid
Dallas.
Houston, humid
Yeah.
Houston. Yeah,
Oh, yes. It's
yeah,
rough.
yeah.
So, yeah, I do
So,
not recommend. So,
yeah. So at the end of the day, infrastructure costs. So if we consider, to come back around to this, we've got a lot of development. The governor wants to see a lot of development. And this is not just the local to Clackamas County or the Portland Metro. It's the entire state because we've got. I don't know if you have heard this, Sally, but a couple years ago we had some really massive bad wildfires that hit Southern Oregon, and it
yes.
annihilated some of these small communities. And the need for housing in some of these areas is so great that this type of a bill is intended to help those communities as well to rebuild and give housing options back to people who have been completely disenfranchised from their housing. So, but gosh, how do you factor in the costs of building sewers, building roads, the excavation costs, the things that have to happen to even develop something that all get factored in? And then you've got your permitting costs and you've got the time that takes to get those permits through. I feel like yes, making things easier to develop is great. We need that. I mean, make it so you have the urban growth boundaries in certain places or the flexibility to change zoning. Oregon's very tough on our zoning. We have a zoning type here called EFU. I'm sure in Texas you have something similar.
Mhm.
It's exclusive farm use. And growing up on a farm, it's necessary because we have wonderful, rich farm soil here in the Willamette Valley,
Mm.
and so it's kind of a shame to see a lot of that get developed. Although there's a point where people have to go somewhere, and there's only so much sardine can you can do in the Portland Metro with the growth boundary that's there. So we used to joke, and we always would joke as a kid, well, gee, if you want to change the zoning from EFU to something else, it takes darn near an act of Congress to do it. It's very difficult to do. So yes, making these things more flexible and making it more able to build because of that is great. But that's only one facet. I feel like it's going to have to come down to how are we going to streamline permitting and the government agencies that have to take the rubber stamp and this is approved and we can do this. If we don't fix those hangups
Yeah.
and streamline some of this stuff, I think it's only going to be a band-aid on an arterial wound, and it's
Right.
not going to be the right solution.
And see, I
So I
think
don't know.
y'all's big issue right now with that is equivalent to our issue with insurance. Insurance here
Mm,
in Texas has pretty much doubled since last year because of all the hailstorms that we've had, because of who we're connected with. Whenever Katrina happened, we suffered
yeah.
and almost never recovered from it. There's been just dramatic things. Hailstorm, we're known for our tornadoes and hailstorms. And right now, insurance, so Nationwide pulled out of Texas. State Farm
Wow.
farmers, they're only insuring luxury properties up to 700,000.
Wow.
And I could be a little off on that. It might be between 600 and 700,000. Other than that, we have to find someone else to cover those properties. It's got to be an exclusive policy. I don't know about
Wow.
Oregon, but here in Texas, they look at your auto insurance, and that's also based on your home insurance. So your
Oh,
home
interesting.
insurance depends on those claims that you've had on your auto insurance.
Oh, interesting.
Crazy?
Yeah, I mean,
And companies
it is interesting. Yeah.
in Texas now, they're almost forcing you to combine the two so
Wow.
that it can be worth it. There's a lot of insurance companies that have pulled out. So the rules have changed. They're so much stricter. They're flying drones on the properties. And if they see anything covering your roof, They don't even write you a letter saying, hey, your insurance is going to go up. They just non-renew you.
Wow. So covering the roof, is that like you have trees growing too close
Yes.
and you've got like some overhang happening?
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
The
interesting. Like, hey,
rule,
a storm's gonna come and knock into your house, the tree
right.
into your house and cause
Yeah.
damage, and
Yes.
we will not insure that. Wow.
And then the new rule is that you cannot have a tree within 5 feet of your property. So
Oh.
with our buyers now, we're out there laying down. Let's see, where's
How
where?
tall? I'm 5'6", so if I lay down, oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
yeah, that's
So
how serious it is. I had my seller, right? I had advised him to go ahead and replace the roof. It was only, I want to say 12 years old. However, it had some hail damage, and I told him, insurance companies are not liking anything over 10 years old right now. Well, he opted not to do it. And so we had the buyer come in. The buyer's inspection went through. He said, oh, you'll be fine. The appraiser came in and said it'll be fine. But the insurance came in and said, nope, you need a new roof, or it's going to go up by, I want to say it was between $500 and $600 a
wow,
month.
a month. Holy smokes.
And
So
so,
I'm just gonna say this right now, Sally.
yeah,
I'm gonna go back to our conversation earlier about who you
yeah,
work with matters when
absolutely.
you are doing a real estate transaction, because you
1000%.
you need somebody who's on your team who's gonna lay on the ground and be like, "Is this tree 5 feet from the structure? Or is this gonna be a problem?" Or
Yeah,
to be able to advise your clients to say, "Hey, insurance in Texas has become kind of a racket. Here's what you need to know, and here's what we need to be looking for in these homes." And that is, these types of things are so important. And
yes,
as a seller's agent, to also inform your sellers that, hey, have you heard what's happening with insurance? Your roof is 12 years old and you've been through several hailstorms. This could be an issue with your deal when you have a buyer. So who you work with absolutely matters
it
in the
does.
real estate world.
I
So
felt bad for that buyer because I instructed my seller, I educated him, and I said, hey, this might happen. They chose not
mhm,
to do it. And then when it did happen, they were like, you know what? Okay. They were ready. It didn't shock them. However, if I wouldn't have educated them and they would have been like, no, we're not replacing the roof. No. And the buyer now has to back out and they lose all of these deposits because their agent didn't prepare them and didn't forewarn them and didn't, now this could have been avoided.
yeah.
And so, but luckily my client replaced the roof, but it's not every case, unfortunately.
Mhm.
So, and even things, small things. I have this property right now that's going on the market tomorrow. Okay. Side note from all of the insurance claims, but whenever I went to the listing appointment, the property had been on the market for 3 months, one showing. And so
Wow.
I came in and I said, can I tell you why it hasn't sold? So we went on, looked at the photos and I was like, look, 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 look. And I came in, we painted it, we staged it. And I mean, she cried. There was tears of joy. And she's like, I can't
Yes.
believe my other agent did
Yes.
this to me and now costed me 3-4 months. And I said, you know what? We're just going to look forward. I'm sorry that happened to you. I really am.
Yeah.
But, just going back to the senior citizens, they don't know what they don't know. And that's
Yes.
our job to educate ourselves so that we can educate them. It's so
100%.
important.
100%. And let's just set a standard now. Your agent should be taking professional photos at the very least.
Oh my God.
Please, for
Yes.
the love. It's just professional. This is your first impression you're gonna leave your buyers.
Yes.
Professional photos, I mean, I don't know what it costs in every market, but they're not that expensive.
Yeah.
Please,
You can get them here for 200
please.
bucks at the
Yes,
very minimum. At the very
yes.
minimum.
Professional photos, people. Just
If you
do
can't
it.
afford professional photos, then why are you in real estate?
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know,
It's our job to market a property. In today's day and age, things aren't just selling like
right.
they were. I mean, yes, things are moving, but it's still important to market the property. You as a seller deserve that. So
Exactly.
absolutely make sure your agent has a robust marketing plan and can tell you what's going on. So
Yeah,
Sally, I have to ask, do you shop at Whole Foods?
I do. I
Okay.
do. We have a Whole Foods here and they take my money every time.
Your whole
Uh,
paycheck?
I now I don't shop for the family there. I will say that because again, we've got 6 kids.
Right.
And they won't eat that stuff anyway, it'll
Yeah.
rot. But I do get like our fresh fruits there, my personal juices that, I take to keep the wheels spinning up here.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
Yeah.
but
Well,
Texas,
yeah.
do you guys have a HEB?
We do not have HEB. I've heard all about HEB. I've
Yeah.
never been to one. It was kind of like when I went to Nashville about a year and a half ago. I went to an Aldi for the first time, and
Ah,
it was in East Nashville, which East Nashville is really cool. But this Aldi, I was like, I was kind of unimpressed by it, and I was told by the people I was with that this is not a good Aldi. This is a subpar Aldi. So anyway, I've never been to HEB, but it's like on my grocery store bucket list. Is that a thing? Like, yes,
yeah,
I would love to see HEB. I've heard all this stuff about it,
yeah.
but yeah, is it like Whole
Texans,
Foods or what's the story with HEB?
Texans are just, Bucky's, HEB. They're in the same family. I feel like you just
Okay.
go there and you can buy a blanket and you can buy your food. So
Okay.
it's a
So
showstopper.
HEB, does HEB have like a housewares department and apparel and stuff like that? Or is it just groceries with a few extras?
It's like a mini mall.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so up here in
It's
Oregon, we have
single
Fred
location.
Meyer, which I think it's still owned by Kroger, but Fred Meyer stores have an electronics department that has grocery. It has apparel, toys, housewares, some basic hardware, some sports, a garden center. Not like Walmart because it sells Nike, it sells Levi's, and the
Oh, wow.
common brands and everything.
Yeah.
So yeah,
You know,
interesting.
I am in Texas. I won't go to HEB. I I'm the rebel. I won't buy the Stanley Cup. I'm just not doing it, you know.
Yeah, yeah, right,
I
right.
stick to my Whole Foods. I stick to Kroger. I just want to be
Yeah,
in and out. I don't know if you
yeah.
guys have Costco.
Oh, yeah, Costco's a
Okay.
Northwest is started in the Pacific Northwest up in Kirkland, Washington. So, yeah, we've
Yes.
had Costco for, I mean, as long as I can remember, going back to when I was a little kid, going to Costco. And
Yeah.
the and yeah, I
I
remember
still have.
yeah.
I think it's the $1.99 hot dog.
Oh, they still have that. It's like 2.50 or something, or it hasn't
Right.
changed the price in a million years. It's been the
Yeah.
same. It's a lost
Did you
leader.
hear about that?
I did. Did you see the story about the guy who started, I
Yes.
guess the founder, CEO or something was like, "If you
Yeah.
change the hot dog price, I will kill you," or
I will kill
something?
you. I was like, that guy needs to
He's
run for
like, "That's
governor.
aggressive."
Yeah, I
But
saw
yeah, the reason I bring up Whole Foods is
yes,
because, and I'm gonna share my screen.
we squirreled.
We squirreled a little, and that's okay. This is good fun.
Yeah,
So we are going to I'm gonna share this is just a Google search I just did. So there's a story out there that's been circulating for several years. And so this isn't anything new, but apparently living near a Whole Foods can boost your home's value. So, and why would that be? Why would these high-end fancy grocery stores or allegedly fancy, higher end, more affluent grocery stores, why would that it be an indicator for what your home's value could be? So you could search this Whole Foods near home increase value. That's what I searched. You could perform this search yourself and see that information.
yeah,
But
it's true here as well. Trader
yeah,
Joe's and Whole Foods, I feel, and now HEBs, and well, they won't even build a store of that capacity without there being a certain amount of population and
right.
income level, so they
Yes.
know where they're going. So,
Yes.
so it's not
Yes.
like, oh, they're going to come to Garland. I say Garland. I grew up here, but it's affordable here in Texas. It's affordable
Yeah.
living. They're not going to come to Garland just and say, oh, our home prices are going to come up if there's an HEB here. No,
Yeah.
HEB decides where they go before they even
Yes.
start any type of plans.
Yeah.
And Trader Joe's as well and Whole Foods.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah,
I can tell you that up here it's the same. If I think about my closest Whole Foods is in it's basically Lake Oswego, Tualatin, kind of up north there. And Trader Joe's is also in Lake Oswego. So, which is Lake Oswego is a very affluent community up here. And the reason I bring this up is because here we have news that this store up here, Sally, called New Seasons.
mhm.
I would equate it to being it started here in Oregon, but it's like a Pacific Northwest style Whole Foods. Um, Personally, if I had to pick one over the other, I'm a Whole Foods fan, or a not Whole Foods. I'm a New Seasons fan, because I base it on their hot deli more than anything. Because when I go for lunch, sometimes their deli is really good. They have really good stuff in their deli, and their bakery department is phenomenal. So is Whole Foods. But if we're comparing like the score, I think New Seasons comes out ahead.
Now, price
Yeah,
wise, which one is?
I don't know. I think since Amazon took over Whole Foods, their pricing has come down maybe a tiny bit, but they're comparable. They're comparable. It's definitely not I wouldn't call it like it's some things are pretty similar and other things are more expensive, but their produce department is beautiful and just about anything you pick up off of the shelf at the produce department is going to be good and beautiful and not yucky looking or anything. You don't run the risk of buying a gross apple at New
And,
Seasons, you know.
I hate to compare, but that's comparable to real estate agents. You get what you pay for. You get what you pay for.
Exactly. And
I know
exactly.
I know if I go to Walmart, which I do not go to Walmart, I will pay more to go to Target. I don't care if it costs me more. I'm not going to Walmart. I'll send
Yeah.
my teenage daughter.
Yeah.
I might send her a couple of times, but I'll never buy fruit there. Even Target, I'm questionable buying my fruit there. We know where to go,
Yeah.
for whatever's specific to our taste. Like you said, you will never find a bad apple there. That's
Right.
kind of, our Tom Ferry coaching is
Yeah.
why we choose agents that are in coaching, whether it's Tom Ferry
Yeah.
or maybe another coaching, but because we know that we're getting what we pay for. So,
Totally. But
that's just
yeah, totally. It's such a good point.
yeah.
So this New Season store, there's going to be one opening in a city, the city of Milwaukie, which is, where I'm at. It's in Clackamas County, and it's just kind of north of where I'm at.
Mhm.
So I'm equating New Seasons to being kind of like in the same lane as Whole Foods. And so what does this mean for Milwaukie, for homeowners in Milwaukie? Obviously, they picked that area for a reason because it's up and coming or it's affluent. And if I think about where New Seasons has their other stores, it's in similar areas, up and coming, trendy, or more affluent areas. So Milwaukie, I think this is a really good indication that the New Seasons is coming to your area. It means that, hey, the place to be. It's
That's right.
lots of good markers if we take all the rest of that stuff.
Yeah. And we have a couple of
Um,
stores like this. I want to say my sister's a huge holistic she right now she's been doing a no sugar diet for I
yeah,
don't know 6 months or something, and it's a really tough diet because she looks at everything she eats.
yeah,
My mother and sister are breast cancer survivors,
sure.
so we eat not very very clean because don't take my chips and salsa because someone will get hurt.
No, no, that's a staple. I don't
Yeah.
think that's just for just like Texas, but that's a staple at our house too.
So, but yeah, one of my sisters, all of her groceries come from, it's a store here. I cannot think of the name on the top of my head, but it's equivalent to that store. So,
Yeah,
but yes, in
that's
those
cool.
pockets of
Yeah,
Oak Lawn, Uptown type
yeah.
places. Yeah.
So I think Milwaukie residents, I think that you can safely say that you've achieved as a town, as a city, a certain status.
Yeah.
And with a store like New Seasons coming in, that's a good sign.
Yeah.
So so lots to look at there. So that's the news. And so I did promote this event today, Sally, as a Texas versus Oregon. And we've kind of bubbled that into our conversation today. So we've covered
Yeah.
some, like, you talked a lot about Texas, and we talked a lot about Oregon too, but I know that you had some other things that you wanted to bring to the table. So really the idea here is, since there is still so much state to state migration happening, and we know that Texas, Idaho, states like that are still very attractive to a lot of people from Oregon who are looking to relocate. What what would somebody from Oregon need to know before they would consider moving to a state like Texas?
Well, there's some things that Texans are very protective of. Number one is their Dallas Cowboys. They are the highest paid NFL, most valuable team, and they're worth over $9 billion. $9 billion.
That's huge.
Yes,
That's a
but
lot of money. And then I'm
yeah,
like, well, what's the second most valuable NFL team? I'm curious to know what that is.
I don't know. I'll have to find out. Um,
Interesting.
not every Texan wears a cowboy hat and boots, but yes, we do wear our boots. I only own a couple pairs. I'm more about my sparkly heels.
Yeah.
But yes, you'll definitely find some hats out here. There's not cows everywhere. Everyone thinks that, oh my God, there's longhorns everywhere. Not
Yeah.
necessarily.
Yeah, well, Dallas is a big city. I mean, I've been to Dallas a few times,
Yeah.
and so it's a big city just like anywhere else. And but I think people think of the whole state of Texas as like when you go out of the big city and you get out into the the areas
Suburbs.
where it's the suburbs or further out into the ranch country that they think all of Texas is just like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because I'll travel and I just have to say two sentences and stuff. Be like, oh, y'all do this. And they're like, you're from Texas, aren't you? Texas, y'all. Everybody
Yeah.
says y'all.
Yeah.
Uh, but very friendly folks here. I think one of our worst traits, I will say, is our driving. We're a little
Drivers are
impatient.
bad everywhere because I would say the same thing.
I don't
We
know.
just
We
have a
could go.
different brand of bad.
Yeah. There's all these memes that, hey, Californians, if you're moving to Texas, get out of the left lane. Like,
Oh
you're
my
welcome
god.
here, but stop slowing down our traffic, because
Right.
we know our routes and our speeds and stuff. So yeah. Lots of Jeeps out here. We have a Jeep thing. Do y'all have that in?
Yep, there's a lot of Jeeps here. I see,
Yeah, we got
um,
mountains.
we have a lot of Subarus. A lot of people drive Subarus out here. It's
Oh,
funny
really?
because, when I've been to Houston and I've been to Dallas, and one thing I noticed is that there's a lot more BMWs and Mercedes than I was used to seeing. I mean, we have those up here too. People do buy them, but it's really interesting because, like, I don't see this many luxury cars, not the every man's luxury car, the Mercedes and whatever, but
Yeah.
I and somebody once told me that the Mercedes is like the Toyota of Dallas or something. Is that the case? Is there like
Yeah. There's a
is
lot of
like there's a
things
lot?
here. There's a lot of Teslas.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of those here too. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot
There's
of Teslas, a lot of Subarus, a lot of people buy Subarus because they're practical and all weather because people go up to the mountain, go up to Mount Hood or they cross the pass and driving in the rain, they like the all-wheel drive and it's
yeah.
just kind of like it's kind of become a thing. That and a lot of Jeeps too. I do see a lot of those.
Yeah, I had my Jeep. I loved it, and I miss it so much. We would take the top off, and I had the best tan all year round.
Oh, because of it?
And,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
I went and got the Mustang, which is a hybrid. It's
Yeah.
completely electric, completely electric,
Yeah.
and I love it. I'm spoiled now because I get up and I don't have to gas up, and I don't have to worry about it. But it's also not made for traveling. So
Mhm.
a trip from me here in a normal car to, let's say, San Antonio, where my sister lives, it's 4.5 hours.
Right.
In my electric car, it's 8.5 hours.
Oh, because you have to stop and charge.
It's not even that, okay? Because it only takes you 30 minutes to charge, and you only have to stop twice. It's
Uh-huh.
because the longer you run an electric car, that battery, it's not made for that. So it starts slowing
Oh.
down. It's protecting you supposedly. So you can only go up to a certain speed and that battery's dying.
Mm.
Yeah. Isn't that
Gotcha.
crazy?
So if
Yeah.
you're going to take your Tesla or your Mustang electric vehicle or any electric vehicle to Texas, you might have to have a backup vehicle that's gas powered. Is that what you're
Yeah.
saying?
If you're going
Your road trip car
road
or rent a
tripping.
car. If you're gonna
Yeah.
road trip to another major city that's
Yeah.
several hours away, it
Yes.
might be worth your time to just rent a car if you solely rely on your
Yeah.
electric vehicle to get
And I
around.
will say
Yeah.
it did give me some quality of life because I used to just jump up and be like, yeah, I can show you properties. Yeah, sure, I can go. And now it's like, oh, I'm sorry, my car's not charged. So, so I
The
need to,
extra things we have to account for now in our
yes,
schedule, right? We have to charge
yes,
the car.
charge the
Oh,
car.
that's funny. And I think
So
the other thing, and this is just me thinking, having been to Texas several times, is it is such a huge state. I think here, I mean, and Oregon's not a small state either. And even for us to go between Portland and Salem, which are two major cities, it's 50 miles between the two. But for you, if you're going to go from Dallas to Houston, or like you just said, Dallas to San Antonio is 4.5 hours. It's a vast amount of distance to go between these places.
oh yeah. Oh yeah. And you do have to account for it. I mean, you could spend a whole day on the road going from one side of Texas to the other.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of, I don't know, in my opinion, I think y'all have the better views. You know,
I would
you,
agree.
yes.
Yeah.
Love my
Yes.
Texas, but man,
Yeah.
y'all's views are just, and I'm a
Yeah.
I'm a tree hugger. I am just like when I'm driving, I told my husband, you don't have to worry about me checking out other men. I'm checking out other houses or just the view in general. And he's like, yeah,
Yeah,
you do.
yes, yeah,
Yeah,
that's good.
that's
Yeah,
the
we
next.
do.
What do you call them?
We
Next
are
phrase.
spoiled. We are
Yes.
spoiled here with our views and the diversity of views too, because here in Oregon, in a day, you could be at the coast, which we don't have a beach that I would say is a sunbathing beach, right? It's a beach that it's a showcase of Mother Nature's rugged beauty. The water's cold, it's windy, it's foggy, it's beautiful in its own way, just the forces of nature that are there. And so you could be at the beach, you can be in wine country here in the Willamette Valley, you can be in the valley, you can go over the mountains, you can go skiing, and then you can be in the high desert all in the same day. It'd be a long day driving, but you could do it. You could have these very different landscapes that you have access to when you live here in Oregon. So it's pretty cool.
Wow, that is cool. I'm gonna have to come try it
Yeah.
one day.
Yeah, we would welcome you.
Yes,
Absolutely.
that's my next.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. So what else? Anything else that you think folks need to know before they move to Texas other than if they're thinking about Dallas, they ought to give you a call?
Yeah, give me a call. I'd love to tour. I'm very open with my clients. I'm not afraid to break some hearts.
Yeah.
And let you know that hey, this home is not for you, or hey, this area is not for you. Not because of redlining or anything, but just if somebody tells me, hey, I love land, I'm not going to take you downtown Dallas because you're not going
Right.
to get a scenery there. Now, if you don't want to do yard work, then okay, let's go find you a condo in Dallas. But there's the traffic here. You got to take that into consideration. The location is always, I say, one thing that you will never be able to replace once you
Mhm.
move somewhere. If you move, I don't know about y'all in Oregon, but here in Texas, the number one reason why properties don't sell is if they back up to a busy street.
Mhm.
So that might be, in general, a nationwide
Yeah, I would
number,
agree
but
with that. I
yeah,
would agree with that here that
I've been,
yes,
yeah,
anytime a house is backed up to something that could be considered undesirable, a busy street, a freeway being right there,
oh yeah,
anything like that that's noisy or could be a nuisance is it does prevent
yes,
a quick sale unless it's fire sale price.
yes. And
Yes.
anyone that moves here from out of state, I always encourage them, ask your agent, are you familiar with this area?
Mhm.
Frisco is 20 minutes from me, but I was born and raised in Garland. So I'm in Frisco all the time. I'm in Rockwall all the time.
Yes.
I lived in
Yeah.
Rockwall. I lived next door to Frisco. So, but if they're an hour away, it's kind of like, I've got to do the right thing by the client and get them an expert
Yeah.
in that city, that area, because Texas is so big. So, like
Yes.
I said, trying to keep them out of real estate jail is my number one goal.
Working with Sally guarantees a get out of real estate jail free
Yes.
card on the real estate monopoly board.
Yes, I like that. I'm going to put it in my business card.
There you go. There you go. You could give
Yeah.
those out at open houses. Here you go. This is your
Yeah.
get out of real estate jail free card.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, any final thoughts or parting words for the people here in Oregon about Texas or where they can find you? I know your Instagram handle's in the ticker here. Your
Yes.
so how can people connect with you?
So I always love to say, Google me, Sally Mireles. You Google me, you're going to find me all over. I have someone for everything, not just because I'm Mexican, but I know a plumber. I have the insurance agent. I have the roofer. I have the
Yeah,
concrete guy. I have them all.
perfect. Yes. Your
And they're
network,
all
that
vetted.
network's important. Yes, that
Yes.
network's important.
That's
Our
the bullet.
clients need connections. They need us for a lot of things, more than just, "Can you help me negotiate a deal? Can you help me find the right place?" We have a depth of contacts that people need because 'cause they're gonna
Yes.
need something with that house someday. You bet.
Yes. And when I
Awesome.
take my buyers out, I always let them know, hey, I always have the sale in mind. Yes, we're
Mhm.
buying a home, but I want you to call me in 5 years and say, hey, I got to sell my house. I want to be able to sell this house.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
we don't know what the future holds. So we always have to be ready to to be able to make that next step. I have clients that moved here, gosh, last year, and we're already about to list their house. I have this client moved, relocated in December of the year before, and we just sold his house this November. So you just never know what the future is going to hold. So
Yeah,
I want to be sure to put
absolutely.
you in a home that we are going to be able to sell.
Great.
So thank you so much for having me on, Jennifer. This has been
Thank
so
you.
much fun.
Yes, thanks for being here, everybody. Google Sally Mireles. Note the spelling of her last name, Mireles. So when you Google her, she's a tremendous person. So glad you could make time to visit and be part of this today. And I'm Jennifer Schurter. I'm a real estate agent here in the Clackamas County and Greater Portland metro area. And if you're looking to make a move around this area, I hope you'll look me up. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next Thursday, and we'll see you, Sally.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, have a great day.
You too.